So, when you think of the Panama Canal, what comes to mind? Probably those giant locks, right? Lifting these massive ships. But the real story, the secret engine behind it all, it isn't the steel or the concrete, it's water. And the story of that water, held in a massive man-made lake, is one of forgotten genius, a hidden sacrifice, and now, a modern crisis that's threatening to shut down global trade. Let's dive into the story of this incredible engineering marvel.
Let's start with a number that should really stop you in your tracks. 6%. Think about that. 6% of everything that moves around our planet by sea relies on this one body of fresh water. A lake that was literally created in the middle of a jungle over a century ago. This isn't just a part of the canal, it's the very heart of global commerce.
And here's the price of admission. Every single time a ship crosses Panama, it uses 202,000 cubic meters of pure fresh water. To give you an idea of what that looks like, that's the same amount of water 80,000 people would use in a single day. And this water isn't just pumped from the ocean. It's a finite resource, used once and then poof, it's lost to the sea.
Now here's the part that just blows my mind. This was all built over 110 years ago. Just try to picture the scene. No satellites, no GPS, not even a laser level in sight. Just raw human brainpower and brute force, creating one of the most critical pieces of infrastructure on Earth in a sweltering jungle plagued by disease and relentless rain.
So that really brings us to the big question for this explainer, doesn't it? How on earth did they pull this off? How did a group of visionaries decide to build an artificial ocean in a tropical rainforest and, in doing so, literally change the world forever? The answer is a story of incredible vision.
All right, so first up, let's really get into why this is the most strategic body of water on the entire planet. See, to understand the canal, you have to understand the lake. This isn't just some scenic reservoir. It is a massive, functioning machine at the heart of global commerce.
Okay, so this is Gatun Lake. At the time it was created, it was the largest artificial lake in the world, and its function? Pure genius. Instead of digging a giant ditch across a whole country, the engineers decided to lift the ships up to the water. The lake acts as a kind of liquid highway, a water bridge that floats these massive vessels 26 meters, that's about 85 feet, above sea level for most of their journey.
But this brilliant idea, it didn't just appear out of thin air. Nope, it came from a man who, honestly, history has kind of forgotten. An engineer who showed up in Panama, found a project that was a total disaster, and turned it into an icon of human achievement.
And this just brilliantly shows the leap in thinking. The French, they had spent years and tragically lost thousands of lives trying to dig a canal at sea level. They were literally fighting the powerful Chagres River every step of the way. But this American railway engineer, John Frank Stevens, he looked at it completely differently. He said, "Why are we fighting the river? Let's use it." Instead of endless digging, he proposed building the world's biggest dam to tame the river, creating a massive elevated lake that would become the canal itself. It was absolutely revolutionary.
So, the vision was there, but making it happen? Well, that was a whole other story. It was a battle against nature on an absolutely epic scale, and it required two monumental feats of engineering. First, you've got the Gatun Dam. And this wasn't just some concrete wall. No, this was basically a man-made mountain of earth and rock. When it was finished back in 1913, it was the biggest earth dam on the planet. Its base was wider than 7 football fields laid end to end. 7! It stretched for about 25 Manhattan city blocks. This absolute beast of a structure is what finally tamed the Chagres River and gave birth to Gatun Lake. But the lake itself wasn't enough. To connect it to the Pacific, they had to literally slice through a mountain range, the Continental Divide. This became known as the Galerd Cut, and it was just brutal. An 8-mile-long scar blasted through a mess of unstable rock and clay. Landslides were constant. The work was incredibly dangerous, deadly even.
The engineer in charge, David Galliard, he poured everything he had into conquering that cut. But the strain, it literally broke him. He died right before the canal even opened. And President Woodrow Wilson himself ordered the cut to be renamed in his honor. A pretty powerful tribute to the immense human sacrifice it took to carve this thing.
So yeah, the world celebrated this incredible achievement as a global triumph. But while the champagne was flowing, a much quieter and honestly, a much more tragic story was unfolding just beneath the surface of the water.
Just look at this timeline. In 1907, they start building the dam. The clock is ticking. Then, fast forward to June 27, 1913. They close the massive steel gates of the spillway, and the Chagres River, it starts to back up, slowly, silently flooding the entire valley. By the next year, the whole world is celebrating the canal's grand opening, but that beautiful new lake was hiding a very dark secret.
Because it wasn't just jungle they were flooding. As the waters of Gatun Lake rose, they swallowed 24 entire villages. Gone. Thousands of people were forced off the land their families had lived on for generations. So while the world was seeing this symbol of progress, these communities, they watched their homes, their farms, their entire history just disappear under the water.
For more than 100 years, that hidden sacrifice literally powered global trade. But today, the marvel that conquered nature is now being threatened by it. And that creates a huge, huge paradox.
Okay, so for 110 years, the system worked like a dream. We're talking over 1 million ships have made the crossing. In a normal year, you're looking at about 14,000 ships. But here's the catch. The whole thing, the entire operation, depends on one thing and one thing only: tropical rain to refill the lake. And well, that rain just isn't as reliable as it used to be.
And this chart, this shows you the devastating result. A historic drought, which is being linked to climate change, has left the lake at a dangerously low level. We're talking less than half of its normal capacity. Think of it like a gas tank for global trade that's suddenly more than half empty. This isn't just some environmental footnote, it is a massive economic problem. To save water, they've had to slash the number of ships that can cross each day, from the usual 36 all the way down to just 24. Which, brings us right back to where we started. That 6% of global trade, it's now facing a huge traffic jam. Supply chains are getting all tangled up, shipping costs are soaring, and it's all because the planet's most important reservoir is, ironically, running out of water.
And that's the great paradox of Gatun Lake, right? This incredible feat of engineering, designed to harness and control water on a scale nobody had ever seen before, is now completely at the mercy of the climate. The very thing that made the canal possible, all that abundant freshwater, has become its greatest weakness.
The visionaries of the 20th century, they built an artificial ocean to connect the world. But now we're facing a challenge they could never, ever have imagined. And it leaves us with one heck of a question. Can the ingenuity of today save the engineering marvel of yesterday?